On the Radio is brought to you by Zurich Insurance, the perfect place to catch up with all things Melbourne. If you enjoy this content and want more inside access from the team, make sure you visit the club website.
Adem Yze, Melbourne, of course, now know who their opponents will be in the preliminary final at Perth Stadium this Friday night. And the midfield coach of the Demons, good enough to join us here on Sports Talk. Adem, welcome to the West. How's the week been in Joondalup?
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been good. All considering we're obviously in quarantine for another week, but nice that the weather's turned it on today. But we've settled in nicely, and we had a really nice training session and strong hit out yesterday, which hopefully will set us up for a good week moving forward. But yeah, we're enjoying it.
Did you get together as a group to watch last night's game?
No, we didn't. So we had, obviously the game is a little bit earlier over here, so it was around dinner. But we just made sure that boys just did what they normally would do. Some don't like watching footy, others love watching footy. So the players did what they normally would do. And then as a coaching group, we sat down together and watched it in Goody's room. So we watched the first half together, and then same sort of thing. If you didn't want to watch the whole game, you could go. But we just tried to make it as normal as possible, as we would do if it was a normal home and away game. So there was a few boys sitting around watching those, so it was good.
So what were the main things that you took away from the Cats' performance last night?
We know that they're a strong contested team, and that come out in their game yesterday, and they do like to possess the ball. So there was nothing really yesterday or last night that come out of the game that we didn't really know. So we know that they're good players. If they play well, they're a big chance of winning any game. So that's the reason why they've been so consistent and so strong over a long period of time. So so we looked at it, and we were lucky enough. We played them, and they'll be thinking the same thing. We played each other in the last game of the season, and in that game there was momentum shifts, and there would have been aspects of the game that they would have felt like they had control of the game at some point, and then other parts we gained momentum. So so playing them a couple of weeks ago is obviously going to be handy for both teams. But the same sorts of things and strengths come out last night. So there was no real surprises.
Adam, Mark Duffield, thanks for joining us on the show this morning. The last time Melbourne played a preliminary final at Perth Stadium wasn't great, but you did score the victory over West Coast late in the season when you controlled the game before you were sent off for lightning and then sort of had to withstand a bit of a late surge. Does the venue ever play into players' minds? And if it does, how important was that win against West Coast just to maybe remove any mental skeletons from the closet of your players' minds?
Yeah, well, I don't think there'd be too many players that were playing in that game that would feel that this game's going to be really similar, based on the fact that it was a home crowd advantage for West Coast compared to this being a neutral venue. So, and it was obviously the bonus of playing a couple of weeks ago and getting really familiar to the ground. It's the same size as the MCG. We play really well at the MCG, and there was a reason why we chose Perth to be the game the ground that we wanted to play our prelim at. So even to yesterday, being able to go and train at West Coast facility, which the ground is exactly the same size. Hopefully will hold us in good stead for this weekend. But I don't think the scenario is going to be the same as last time, based on the fact that the crowd would have been so loud because it was a home crowd.
How important has Harry Petty been to your backline setup? Stephen May and Jake Lever get the kudos, but Lever is always trying to zone off and be very assertive and intercept. And the fact that you've got that if you like, that safer defensive option back there as a tall defender.
Yeah, he's been terrific. He's obviously had some ups and downs with his body, but he's had a terrific pre-season, and then he's grabbed his opportunity with both hands. So in saying that, even Joel Smith coming into the team gives us a bit more flexibility because he can play tall and small as well. So we understand what teams are trying to do to Jake and to Stephen, but having those options around, would hope that we can exploit him in different ways. So Christian Salem's had a terrific season this year, and if they try to do certain things to Jake, then we'd hope that Salo can get off the leash as well. So, Harrison's been terrific. He can play tall. He's got the speed to play on a small as well. So, it's a credit to him in for such a young kid, he's fitted in nicely.
And where would Jaden Hunt be in your selection calculations for the prelim?
Well, he's training. He's had some limited training up until now, but Tuesday's going to be really important for him. So we've got our main session on Tuesday. He's going to try to get through that. He trained yesterday, did part of training and looked okay. So then Tuesday he's going to really test it to see how it goes, and then it'll be up to us to see whether we want to take that risk or hope that we end up getting through and give him an extra 2 weeks. So that's going to be up to the coaches and the fitness staff, that they're going to give him every chance to train on Tuesday and see if he can throw his hat in the ring.
26 past 10 here on ABC Perth and WA. Adem Yze, the midfield coach from the Melbourne Football Club, our special guest on Sports Talk. Mick Malthouse has a couple of questions. Mick.
Oh, congratulations, Adam, for a start off on a fantastic year. You know, I suspect that most people looked at Melbourne at 9th and thought, you know, what can they do with their year? Well, you've demonstrated in an outstanding fashion, so well done. I just want to take you back a couple of weeks against Geelong, down at Geelong. I actually did that game with the ABC, and it was a very interesting game. First of all, in regard to how could a side dominate for 3 quarters? What was there anything changed up at 3/4 time? Was it? I've got to ask this question: was it because Geelong got lazy, and you got a couple, then put them on the ropes a bit, and they just couldn't respond, or was it because of a change at 3/4 time that got you back in the game? Being midfield coach, of course, that's where it starts and finishes.
Yeah, it was a really interesting one. I didn't feel like they were dominating for 3 quarters. It was a small patch before half time. I think it was a 3-minute patch where they kicked 3 centre bounce goals and a 4:50 stoppage goal, which sort of blew the score out. But if we went by numbers and the KPIs that we look at, we thought we were right in the game and thought the game was looking a lot like a game that we'd like. So it was really interesting. So we sat down at half time and tried to fix a couple of things with our centre bounces, which we did. And in the 3rd quarter, we started to gain some ascendancy, and it looked like we had a little bit of momentum, and then that just rolled into the last quarter. So, there was, like I said, we reviewed the game, and it was really interesting. Like 6 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter, we're 10 points down, and within a blink of an eye, within a 2-minute patch, we're 5 goals down. So, we hopefully we won't have that scenario again with our centre bouncers, and it's amazing, and they are, and that's the type of team they are. They've got some really potent forwards that if you give them any sort of momentum, they can hit the scoreboard really quickly. So, that we thought that when we reviewed the game, it was pretty much just that little patch that blew us away, really.
Sure. Now, just on the midfield, Parfitt will definitely be out, and Duncan will definitely be in. Is there a difference to the Geelong setup when that happens?
There is. Obviously, if you look at last night, a lot of their outside runners got a lot of the ball, and Dangerfield and Selwood were a little bit quieter last night. So they've got a blend of both. They've got some really strong inside bulls that then are complemented by Isaac and Menegola on the outside. So we've got to work out whether we try to really look after the guys on the outside or we try to stop them at the source in the inside. So that's why they've been such a strong team for a long time, is that they've got a real good blend of both. So and it's something that we've tried to implement with our team as well. Yeah,
just on. I wrote a column early in the year where I thought that Melbourne sort of went overboard to help Brown, and my article was basically about Brown has to help Melbourne more so fit into their style. Have you noticed a shift there that he seems now to be a bit of a different player than what he was at North, certainly at North Melbourne, but also a different player than what he was when he first arrived? He just seems to be coming up the ground a bit more. He seems to be getting involved more. We know he's not good at ground level, but it gives just a different sort of contest. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, he does, and I think the game's changed a little bit too. So he used to obviously come out of the goal square and have, and can obviously be a terrific lead up forward, but he does have a big tank and does like to get on the move. So we let him mix that up. So there'll be times that he does play as our deepest forward, but then other times that if he feels like he needs to get in the game, he'll get up the ground and try to turn his defender around and give us a contest up the ground. Because when he jumps at it, he's so big. It's hard for him to stop him. And in the end, if he brings it to the ground, our little crummers, he's giving them opportunities to score. So, he's in a really good spot that he's got a good mix of both. He doesn't always have to anchor himself to the goal square, and he's embraced that. So, and his form's starting to improve as well. So he's been really important for us in the last few weeks.
Yeah, good. Oh, that's yeah. I threw that win a bit at Parfitt because I think he's sadly underestimated by a lot of people outside of Geelong, and Duncan is well, Duncan's Duncan. I think he's won best and fairest there a couple of times over the last few years, so he's very important to him. But I was just wondering how you're going to handle that because your midfielder seems to be really, when you've got Oliver, who's just a different player than what he was last year, and Gawn's just been gone. That I was just wondering how you would have seen the Parfitt situation.
Yeah, and I think he does. I think he does give him that other rotation that goes through that. If Selwood and Dangerfield are down a little bit, it obviously gives them an opportunity to send Dangerfield forward as well and not losing a lot when Parfitt goes inside. So I think, yeah, as a footy club, I think they'd be pretty shattered that he's out this time of year. So it's unlucky for the kid because we rate him highly as well.
Adem Yze, our special guest on Sports Talk. Adam, a couple before we let you go. Saw your name thrown up as a potential senior coach at Carlton. Senior coaching, is that something you aspire to step into one day?
Yeah, well, it's funny, your name gets thrown up if you've been through the process before. So I really wanted to go through the Adelaide role based on the fact I hadn't been through any process like that before. So I really enjoyed going through that process and seeing how it all worked. And it is something that I want to aspire to. So, but if things like that come up in the future, I'll sit down and have a really good think on whether I feel like it's the right time to go through that process again or whether it's the right footy club. So, I haven't been contacted by Carlton as yet, but if that happens, I'll sit down and work out whether it's something I want to go through again. And but yeah, it is something I'm working towards and obviously trying to improve every year to hope that comes to fruition.
The Nathan Jones story, and I don't think I've spoken to someone after a game with more joy than when you made the finals in 2018. He was absolutely thrilled to finally play in a final, but it might be one of those ones where he misses out because of the way the team is. And also, we know that his wife is due to give birth to twins. Where is he at the moment? When do you have to make a decision on what's the right thing to do with Nathan Jones if he's not going to potentially play in a grand final?
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be an amazing story. Whichever way it pans out, you wouldn't read about it. The fact that his wife's due 5 days before a grand final. So right now he's right on the cusp of selection. Obviously we got through the game unscathed last weekend, so I'm not sure whether there'll be a lot of changes this weekend. But who knows, like what would happen after this weekend's game. So so up until this weekend, if he gets a game or not, he'll sit around and watch the game and support our players. And depending on whether a spot opens up for him the week after, he's going to sit down and we'll try to give him that information as quick as we can so he can make a decision on whether he wants to get back for the berth or not. So, but right now he's right in the mix as part of the 25 players that we're looking to select each week. So it makes it a bit tougher for him to make that call. But I don't think he'll have it any other way. If he's got any chance of playing, I think he'd be kicking himself if he didn't hang around. So, I feel for his wife sitting at home too. So she knows what it would mean to him if he could get into the team. So, the club's helping him out as much as they can as well.
Adam, two of your younger players that seem to bring an enormous amount to the mix, Keziah Pickett and Luke Jackson. Are you surprised by how much two second-year players can actually contribute in the way that they're contributing to you at the moment?
Only because they're young. If you to look at their talent, that doesn't surprise you at all. But based on their age, it does. But I wrote a little article for our website the other day based on Jacko's improvement, and a lot of that has come down to Maxi Gawn. So the tutelage he's been giving Jacko is just next level. Like obviously Greg Stafford works with our ruckman, but for Max to take Jacko under his wing and just work on his craft every week, he's got the best coach that anyone could ask for. So he's reaping awards from that. His forward line craft's getting better each week. So that's a given. And then because Keziah, his form for a small forward it's really hard to be consistent in that area of the ground, and they obviously put a lot of time and effort into him, but he's such a clever little forward that he doesn't need a lot of opportunities to hit the scoreboard and be dangerous. So and and both of them work really hard on their game. So they're really driven kids. They're obviously early draft picks, and they work for a reason. So yeah, we're really excited, not only for what they can do in this final series, but what they can do for the club moving forward as well.
Adam, really enjoyed the chat. Thanks very much for spending some time with us. Have a good week. Best of luck.
No worries, guys. Thanks a lot.